heaven is not the end goal, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be something that we preach is the end goal. Why do I say that? Why do I say that the whole point of the Christian being is not something we should be talking about? Well, there are many reasons. Many atheists will claim it's because it's simply not true. But then again, they will argue all manner of things aren't true, not to get their way. And you do have to wonder, what is their endgame? What is their goal? Could it be they just want religion completely out of the world? Some people say yes. Some people say that they just want to remove ignorance and misinformation, and that will quite happily and coincidentally create a non-religious world, which is quite frankly hogwash, given that they are merely fixating on the aspects of religion that are negative. Especially as quite a few of them seem to be focused more on the US. But that's by the by. Why will I say don't preach heaven? Some people might say the evidence angle, there's no evidence of heaven. I'd say there's enough of something out there for us to have hope of heaven, to have faith that heaven is there. But I don't think that is enough of a reason to preach it. It's a reason to have it as a backup. It's a reason to want to go to heaven at the end of the days. But weird enough, in my case, I just don't think heaven is practical. I'm a practical person, and whilst in principle going to a place of beauty and wonder where we get to pray and preach and praise God forever and ever, that sounds wonderful and everything, like a great big party. I'm not a party person. I hate nightclubs. I hate hanging around in places. I don't particularly like parties. I'd rather just spend time on my own, maybe with my family. Does that mean that I will want to have the proposed idea of heaven, you get to see your family again? Well, yes, no, maybe, all of them. You will end up with the Christmas afternoon scenario. Forever and ever. Especially as we have to then put up with that one aunt, that one uncle, that one relative that we would quite frankly want to kill ourselves just to be away from, only to realise, hang on, that is just not possible right now. Some people might say that it's just better than the alternative. Better than the alternative of hellfire, or being burned in hell, or whatever happens to be thrown that way. Honestly, I'd rather the eternal sleep. I'd rather the eternal slumber. I'd rather the oblivion. If I had to pick an afterlife, it would not be the Christian afterlife. It would actually be the Norse afterlife, Valhalla. Because then, not only have defined goals and clear statements on which I have to be part of in order to go to Valhalla, it also has a clear mission statement, has a clear thing we're aiming towards. We're training, we're ready for the final fight of Ragnarok. We're ready for the end of the world, and we're going to be a part of that. We're going to be part of the great warrior host that will end suffering, end torture. We will be a part of that. That was an amazing idea. And yet that's not part of the Christian statement. It's a Norse pagan idea. Some people might say, why am I bothering then? It's because I think if Jesus is right in the sense of how we live our lives, then the version of heaven that he preaches might in fact be the one we're going towards. I don't like it, but just because I don't like it doesn't mean that it's not the truth. So if heaven, the goal, is removed, what is there to live for? What is the end goal for all this? My answer, why focus on the end goal? So many people focus entirely on an end goal. It's in fact, interestingly enough, part of what makes some people focus on their jobs. My dad told me a story of how a cleaner was working for NASA. He was just a cleaner, cleaning things. And I think it was Barack Obama or some president. He went and spoke to this person. Why do you do this? Why do you do this job? Because I put men into space. Really? And how do you do that? Well, if this isn't clean, it doesn't take off. That end goal, putting men in space, in his own unique way, that is an amazing thing. It seems rather ridiculous, seems menial, but some people might even say it's almost dystopian. The fact that one person focuses on his menial task for the idea of a greater goal that he will never experience personally. Like the dying pioneers, the great flea, if you will. I would suggest reading a book called Red Rising. I think it's by Pierce Brown. It shows a similar sort of lifestyle and how people are now starting to break free from it. You see that sort of thing crop up for many things. The goal is bigger than all of us, so let's aim for that. I would say that whilst the goal is good, it should not be the only thing. The main reason being, you're losing sight of what the journey is doing. And that, I feel, is the rub. That is the main reason why I will never tell people to preach only heaven. Look around you. Look what your impact is having on the world. Some people might say, why do I even bother doing these videos? What is my end goal? My end goal is interesting enough to reduce the amount of misinformation about Christianity, and hopefully at some point other religions, if the need arises. But at the end of the day, I know even if my videos do not get much traction, the message is out there, the information is there.
Some people might be wondering if I do this for the views, for the clout I get on Facebook and YouTube. Real answer is not really. As you can see, my subscriber count has not risen the past few days. My watch time sort of spiked around the sort of the 3 hour mark, wasn't it? Or is it the 3 minute? It's hard to tell. My views have really not gone up that much. However, the main purpose has nothing to do with the reach of the videos, but everything to do with the content, everything to do with the sharing. Whilst realistically, I'm doing this for me as well. It's building up the knowledge I have. This is me sharing my knowledge, my ability to search and find. I don't have many regular viewers, I have plenty of new viewers that just pop up randomly, it seems. So there's mainly my, my Reels runs, which has to do with, good. For the regular viewers. So these analytics, you may be focused on the younger generation, so around my age, but then again, I'm not particularly focused on that. I focus on putting out the information and learning, not overly focused on the audience. My videos for everyone, showing what I'm learning and sharing with the world. If the algorithm has a problem with that, if the viewers have a problem with that, that's not my problem.
And that will improve people's lives, bit by bit. And that is the reason I do it. My own goal is not to please God just by preaching, by showing all these videos. That is not my goal. That is why I'm perfectly happy doing videos that seem controversial, that seem like they might upset people. I'm not spreading stuff about the LGBTQ, saying that it's not actually a sin to be have homosexual feelings, or to marry someone of the same sex, or to think that you're not the gender that you were born as, or anything like that. That is not what I'm doing. I'm not doing that just to please people either. I'm doing that because that's genuinely what my studies seem to show. And that's what I'm putting out there. That's what I'm sharing. If that happens to be not God's truth, and it's potentially causing more harm, I'll go to hell knowing that I was misled, knowing that this is my due. I may feel it unjust, I may feel it unkind, I may think that it's a terrible way to view the world, only through the lens of one being's understanding, one being's prejudice. But that's the world we live in, unfortunately. Some people might say, why shackle yourself to a religion that does that? Am I? I'm perfectly happy to lay down my religion if needs be, but it just so happens that my worldview aligns with the Christian worldview. My studies show that this seems to be the right path. This is the right way to understand things. So far from being a flat-out refusal to understand the world, far from me being brainwashed, indoctrinated, or anything like that, no matter what people might say in the comments, I genuinely look at things and I think, this is where the truth lies. I'm willing to look at that, to expand on it, and to be skeptical of it, and broaden it out. Ultimately, some people just think because they are assured of heaven, they don't have to worry about what they're doing on earth. When I actually think it's everything that you do on earth that makes an impact and changes how the world sees you. Changes how the world sees your culture, your beliefs, your position, and how that will affect your people going into the future. So whilst many atheists do claim that eternal punishment for a finite crime, in that you just simply don't believe or simply do a couple of wrong things, is inconsequential and therefore not a just way of teaching people, I would say that in this case, if you look at it as your own people being affected by your choices, your actions, your beliefs, and how you choose to live your life, that is not only a powerful thing, it also affects how people will view them in the future. So it has much further reaching ramifications than just you being thrown into a pit of sulphur, or you being looked at in a weird way on a tombstone. No. Because atheists will constantly point at people in history who have done terrible things in the name of religion and say, these are the people who are believing these days. And they're using that as ammunition to say that religion is a bad thing. Do I believe those people might be in hell? Quite possibly, but that's not the issue. The issue is how they have made the rest of Christianity seem. It has, in a way, created a culture war, a high level of prejudice that atheists just don't want to accept is part of them. Try to turn that light just to make things easier for the video, it's not really helping me. Whilst Martin Luther, the founder of Lutheranism, is nowhere near as well loved in many circles as Martin Luther King, they were both Christian, they were both Protestants, if you will. But one used it to free people, the other used it to basically justify his belief in prostitution being good for a Christian marriage. Who is the true Christian? That we fall into the no true Scotsman fallacy. So we have to be careful there. But just because one person famously did something in the name of religion does not mean that we should use that as an example in our daily lives. History is full of that. The Bible is no exception. The Bible is full of people doing things that are contrary to God's law. And just because it happens to be in the book that we use as an example, as the text to back it up, atheists will say that is an example and something descriptive for the Christian faith, which isn't the case. I think we've gone off a bit track here, but let's see if we can bring it back to the main point. That being the effect that we have on Earth. Heaven isn't an end goal, and should never be such. Instead, heaven should be a reward. A reward for someone who never sought it, but is a reward for someone who deserved it through his own hard work. Because of this, people seem to think that heaven is the ultimate goal. No. That is why I think there are so few people picked out at the end of days for heaven. This is why I think that there's only, what was it? 1,000 gross. Yeah, a gross 1,000 people. Of all that, and you find they could be not necessarily powerful people, not necessarily people who strived for heaven, but strived for earth. We don't want to live life as we want to, and then at the end of the days go to heaven because we feel we're deserving it. No.
The best example of this I didn't think of in the moment is Nepo babies, or nepotism hires. Essentially, when someone is born into a family that has wealth and privilege, and then they get put in the company with the aim for taking over, or more often than not, being positioned above others. This is something that is very bad and can lead down some pretty rough roads, because realistically, those people are more focused on making money for themselves rather than money for everyone else, and that has caused the industry to hemorrhage funds and hemorrhage good, long-lasting employees. And whilst Nepo babies don't always get the negativity of it, essentially, if we enter a world that has everything handed to us on a silver platter, we may not appreciate it. Some people say we will, but you'll be amazed how few people actually appreciate the struggles others go through in order to be in the position they're in now. I personally don't really care for smartphones, for tablets. I'm just happy with what I've got. I do not particularly fuss over things I can't gain.
The gates of heaven are open for us, but that does not mean that we have to work our lives to get to heaven. No, we need to work our lives to bring heaven to us, to make heaven on earth, to make a world worth living. And that's worth all the strife, all the hard work, all the strain, all the persecution, all the suffering. Because at the end of the day, we're making a world better for the people who will see it. It may seem like a complete task, but it's a much more achievable goal than atheists might want to admit. It's something we can reach for, attain, and more importantly, make true on earth. So don't preach to aim for heaven. Don't try to go to heaven. Make heaven come to us, and make it here on earth. Stay humble, my friends. Stay safe. Bring heaven down. And God be with you.